All right. Mississippi State, Florida. Florida's a 9.5-point favorite. The over-under I have is 1.5 references to Dan Mullen. I love the Mullen Bowl. This is the Mullen Bowl. We can count that. Does he live tweet this game? Not when he's the coach at UNLV, but
I think he'll
maybe.
have over under one tweet about this game. Like not during the game, but just overall. I think he might get with a little in there,
If Florida loses, yes. If Florida loses, yes, because we know last year he liked to get a little bit salty on Twitter. A Mullen Napier side by side would go pretty hard about right now because you've got Napier in year 4. Mullen lasted 4 years. It would totally lack context. And Mullen was done, by the way. Like just in case we need to revisit that one more time, because I heard multiple people say this week they should have never fired Dan Mullen, even though like he was showing up to work knowing that he was done. And when you show up with that mindset, you're cooked and there's no alignment whatsoever. And we can't just ignore the context of that. I know I've repeated myself on that, but
well, it's a good note though, because it will be impossible for the rest of our lives, Connor, to put ourselves back in the COVID era mentality. And that's pretty much what cost him his job.
yeah, he admitted that. That season did things to him mentally that I don't think a normal season would have. It's not an excuse, it's reality. And I think if there had been things that had unfolded differently, a normal loss to LSU instead of a thrown shoe loss to LSU, different conversation, different preamble to 2021, the whole deal. So he will still be brought up though. And if this game gets lopsided, maybe some people will wonder, and lopsided in the non-Florida direction. I'm talking about like if Mississippi State goes up big, then maybe all of a sudden you're getting that revisited on the broadcast. Will, maybe you'll disagree with this. I think a loss here and it's over for Billy Napier. Like, done.
Oh, yeah.
Done.
Listen, as somebody who has been admittedly pretty sheepish on coach firings, that's kind of bit me in the butt a couple times this year. Looking at you, Pittman and James Franklin. A loss to Mississippi State is just a move backwards. And I don't understand the line on this game. I'm going to be honest with you. Mississippi State, I think, has been roundly the better team this year. Hey, I get it. Texas happened. I get what the swamp means. But, like, week to week, I feel like Mississippi State's been way better than a 9.5 point spread.
Yeah. Haven't won an SEC game yet with this coaching staff. That's part of it. Mississippi State's been good covering the spread. They didn't cover against A&M, but, you know, the game that they played against Tennessee, obviously the game that they played against Arizona State, yeah, the optics would just be as bad as they can be for Florida. You can't lose to the guy that hasn't won an SEC game yet. Can't lose to the program that hasn't won an SEC game in 2 years. And we are respecters of Mississippi State and what they have done. And as people that watch this conference closely, we know this is not the same team that we saw last year. I think this defense could absolutely present problems for DJ Lagway. It has been very, very good in meaningful football. And it has been more so a byproduct. Like they have been more a victim of their ineffective offense, which I think that's the more glaring unit for Mississippi State right now, which was not what we expected at all, but that's the way that this played out. And it won't necessarily matter for the Florida optics, for the Napier optics, if we all can acknowledge that this is a better Mississippi State team, because if you lose to them, you're 2-5. At best, at absolute best, 7-5 regular season win match last year, and I would not bank on that whatsoever with games away from home against Georgia and against Ole Miss. I don't need to revisit the Billy Napier record away from the swamp, but you know at this point, basura. This is the type of loss that if it happens in front of that fan base, which will bring it on Saturday, that would have that building just despondent, just totally like lost for words. How can this happen? How in the world could a losing performance be what, you know, be sandwich or like sandwiching the Texas win and then the USF loss? Like that, the Texas win would be in between those two games. And that just wouldn't make sense at all if you're thinking you're turning the corner in year 4. All that is possible, but I don't think it happens. I don't think Florida loses this game. I don't think Billy Napier gets fired on Sunday. I think Jaden Baugh is the big difference. Huge difference. 52 combined scrimmage touches the last 2 weeks. It's almost like Billy Napier listens to this show and every other show that talks about his team and very clearly sees, hey, that guy that doesn't wear gloves that's in your backfield, he should give the ball. He should have the ball like, 25 times a game and just don't worry about it because your quarterback is playing on one leg right now. and that guy is running through contact and breaking tackles and looks like your offense should be built around him. So maybe you should. Just a thought.
You know what's funny? Real quick,
forced
we
missed tackles
said
this
like
year.
Jaden Ball is like the best player on Florida's offense whenever they were struggling, and I feel as though because they have started to use Jaden Ball, now the freshman receivers have kind of passed him in terms of overall talent. But that's only
Dallas Wilson, man.
because, right? That's only because like those plays are only possible. This single coverage is only possible because we are now actually like the defense is crunching in and not as scared of the Lagway arm, which he makes them pay now, right? So I think that the story of Florida's turnaround can still run through Jaden Ball, even if it didn't feel like this whole Jaden Ball resurgence. And sorry, I didn't mean to step on your stat. What was your stat?
Yeah, 34 missed tackles forced this year. That's 5th among power conference running backs. That's really, you need that desperately with the way that this offense has been constructed. And we've talked about Billy Napier not really fooling a whole lot of people with his scheming, but you're right. The Dallas Wilson thing, it's real. It's real. I mean, he is awesome. Nobody's going to compare him to Jeremiah Smith or anything like that. It's not going to quite be like Ryan Williams last year because the lack of meaningful games that it feels like he's playing in. The Texas game was meaningful, but not meaningful from a playoff standpoint for Florida. But those two guys are great. And it's nice that Florida's offense, which was such a bad hang, has made the adjustments to now, one, just have Dallas Wilson at its disposal and he's healthy again. And two, recognize that in order to not be a bad hang, you need to give Jaden Ball the football. I think it's a slow start for Florida's offense. But as we've seen with Mississippi State's defense this year, eventually that dam breaks. I'm going 28-14 Florida wins. Billy lives to fight another day.
I want to pick Mississippi State so bad. I picked Mississippi State to cover. How about that? Again, it's home and away, right? It's that they have been a different team, a worse team on the road. I won't say they've really been a better team at home, but they've certainly been a worse team on the road. I think this is a close win for Florida that makes them sweat a little bit, but I think Billy lives to fight another day. I think that's a Florida win and a Mississippi State cover. I mean, again, it's kind of funny that we have these two teams that are, again, kind of foils of each other, right? Where it's like, hey, we have these two offensive head coaches. They're supposed to get up and down the field, defense optional. But then you look at these teams, it's like these are defensive fortresses that struggle to move the football. And they're like DCs are the star of the show. And they have quarterbacks who are kind of like had all this hype and didn't live up to it. But they have running backs who are that dude. I talked about Fluff Bothwell with you ahead of the pod. I love watching him play. But again, the strength of Florida's defense, kind of in the interior. That's the thing. It's like the things that you like about Mississippi State offensively, Florida has. That's kind of the one thing they can do. So yeah, I like Florida to win, but State to cover.
Yeah, Mississippi State just not sure they got enough firepower on offense. It would be a 180 for them to go into the swamp and put up significant points with the things that they've struggled to do in SEC play so far on the offensive side of the ball.